Welcome to Kikao, your weekly focus on Africa's agriculture. My name is Joe Agayon. This week we focus on seeds. Just which is which? Hybrid or saved seeds from the last season? Well, in a short while we'll be demystifying all the misconceptions about which seeds to plant. But first, a scene setter.
Do we promote hybrid seed or do we promote saved seeds by the farmer? I mean, I promote both schools of thoughts, and for this reason. We know when it comes to using hybrid seed, hybrid seed, then it reaches a point the vigor goes down. So the more you continue replanting, from the previous season, the production keeps on going down. And that is a creation awareness process. Farmers need to know that every time you keep on, repeating the seed from a previous crop, the production will keep on going down. It's not like the traditional seed that you'll find you're able to more or less maintain the same production, or if it goes down, it's by a very insignificant level.
Let's now join our eminent panel, hosted as always by the Executive Director of AATF, Dr. Canisius Kanangire.
Smallholder farmers across Africa have over the years depended on seed-saving practice or rely on seed supplied by their communities for planting in the next season. In general, most farmers are thought to use such seeds at least twice before considering purchasing new seeds. This traditional system continues to form the basis of smallholder livelihoods as well as national food security in most countries in the region. On the other hand, hybrids have become the commercial standard for an increasing number of crops because they generally produce higher yields, adapt better to stress, and are often bred to resist pests and diseases. On this episode of Kikao series, we will seek to demystify the misconceptions around hybrid seeds and what options exist for farmers based on their farming goals. You are welcome to Kikao. I am Dr. Canisius Kanangire. I'm Executive Director of AATF, and my guests this week are Dr. Stephen Mugo, a maize breeder and an independent consultant at Center for Resilient Agriculture for Africa, and Duncan Ondu, the Executive Officer at Seed Trade Association of Kenya. You are welcome, sirs.
Thank you.
Thank you. We talk, when we talk of seeds, we talk of two types of system, an informal and a formal system where farmers can get seeds. Can you explain what are those two tracks and the challenges which may be in each one of them?
There are two ways in which farmers can get seed in a country or in any region, and these are the formal and the informal system. The formal system is where you have deliberately created the system for variety development. The crops are developed using scientific knowledge by the breeders, and then the seed is availed through inspection by the regulatory system in the country. The seed is very well taken care of at production. It's very well inspected. It is processed very well in the factories, and then it is also packaged very well, and including treatment like insecticide and fungicides, so that the seed is not damaged during germination. And then the seed is availed through formal systems. The seed stock is from the seed companies, and then it can be availed by government system or even by NGOs to the farmers. The informal system, on the other hand, is where farmers will use their own harvested seed, or they get it from the market. And this seed is usually not treated, and it is availed in most cases from the market without any form of treatment. And the risk is that it will not be also it will not be as well treated. It may suffer problems during germination and during the growth of the crops.
Because
that is an informal system.
That is the informal system. Can the two systems coexist in one community, farming community?
It's possible for a farmer to get certified seed, and then after harvesting, they now start planting. They plant season 1, they plant season 2, they also plant season 3. So that could also be another way of informal seed.
So you can have the two systems coexisting.
Exactly.
But for sure, it is not the best way. We should go to the formal one with all those specifications and attributes.
It's clearly not the best way.
Not the best way.
It is clear that the informal system cannot sustain food production and the sustained availing of food to the community.
Because it reduces the potential of the seed.
It reduces the potential of the seed.
Now,
and the other idea is also that one is they can reuse the seed that they have obtained from the formal system.
Yes.
But there is also the other issue of the different types of crops, like the chronally propagated crops, the cassavas and the sweet potatoes sometimes. These may coexist with the formal system where you get the hybrids for the grain crops. But this is only up to the level where the country has developed the formal system. Because clearly the formal system will be able to produce adequate amount of seed, of seed, which then will also translate into adequate amount of food available in the country.
How widespread is the practice of using safe seeds?
Because we are living in a society that allows the use of choices by farmers, you'll find that most governments will allow both systems to coexist. Kenya talks about research findings which have not been corroborated for a long time. 80% of seed in Kenya is informal, 80%, and then 20% is formal. I was looking at some studies done by one of the think tanks in Africa. They're talking about countries like Zimbabwe, where they have about 70% formal seed and then 20% informal seed, especially for maize.
That's very good.
Yeah, when you look at countries like Mali, they have about 30% when you talk about legumes. When you look at countries like Tanzania, Uganda, we have about 54% in terms of maize. That's formal seed. So broadly, we have different scenarios depending on the country, because each country seems to allow different actors, to operate.
What makes it so different that one country on the same continent is having a formal system at 70% and another at like 20%, for example? Why is it? Is it the understanding?
It is because of the development of the seed system in particular countries. The reason why it is so is that several reasons. One of them is that the farmers may not know the advantage of the formal system and where they can get the seed from that system. The other one is that they cannot access it even when they want it, because the seed system in the various countries is not as well developed.
What could be the magnitude of that kind of loss in the potential of the seed, which translates in lower yield and productivity at the farmer's level? Could you elaborate on what you lose?
Yeah, because we have been following that discussion, especially trying to provide a rationale. In fact, there's a potential loss of between 30 to 40% yield when you use informal seed. So one can really see that you cannot talk about food self-sufficiency when you talk about informal seed, because of the reduction in terms of outputs. So yes, it's very, very significant. And I think just like we said, when you talk about the formal seed, you talk about resistance to pests and diseases, for example. So when you have informal seed and there are pests which come, you can imagine what is likely to happen.
Vulnerable.
Yeah, almost sometimes up to 80% crop loss can be there. The formal seed, through breeding and all that, it is also adaptable to climate change, for example. Right now, you cannot predict how the weather will be tomorrow. You plant today, it doesn't rain. So you find that informal seed is also susceptible to weather vagaries, climate which you can't predict. But the formal seed system, the actual varieties which have been bred, which are short maturing, maybe 4 to 5 months, especially in maize. And this is now what is making other communities to be able to have a harvest, especially when we have challenges to do with climate change. So overall, you can see the formal seed system is overall better.
The formal system allows the system to access new genetics, improved varieties, which will have the traits that really the farmers need.
Yes.
That drought tolerance, that disease resistance, that pest resistance, while the informal system will not allow that.
Let's take a break. And when we come, we go now to the difference between the ordinary one, though it can be processed, and the hybrid, which is another animal that the farmers need to domesticate. Welcome back to Kikao.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are talking of seeds. And outside there, experts advise that we should go to hybrid seeds. What is hybrid seeds?
A hybrid, by definition, is a cross between two plants of the same type. And the reason why it is used is because when you cross those two plants that have different characteristics, but the scientists several years ago, actually in the 1950s, they found out that when you cross those two different types, the product from that, which is now the hybrid seed that is available to the farmer, will do better than either of the parents.
What is the level of adoption of hybrid on the African continent?
This process takes time, is expensive. By the time you finish this whole cycle, you find that you need to recoup the investment you have made. So naturally, it is more expensive than this informal seed system. So if you have farmers, especially who want to just do basic subsistence, normally they argue that this is expensive, and because I'm also doing it just for subsistence, why do I need to pay more? And yet this is only going to be for use at the household level. If they want to go commercial, then some of them, of course, will now see the value of buying the hybrid one, because comparatively it is expensive, but it has twin advantages. So the issue of cost is normally one that becomes a challenge, especially to farmers.
Is it worth it for a farmer to buy the seeds, the hybrid seeds? Does he have a chance to get back the money and get more, get benefits? Because if it is, I think it could be advisable to go the other direction if he can benefit more. So I don't understand exactly that what we are advising.
I think the whole idea, the reason why the world went to hybrids, and this happened, I think the first hybrids were in maize in the USA in the 1950s, it's because of the advantage that the hybrid will, in general, yield much more than 40% of the alternative of the conventional one.
Exactly.
And so, however much hybrids cost, and there have been very many studies that have been done in Africa, in Asia, and other places, the hybrid seed will always pay more than when you use the alternative, the conventional seed. And I think that is the whole idea, that food production, and it is believed very, very clearly that today the world is able to sustain the kind of population that we have because of the hybrid technology. Being in maize, that is the most widespread. It has been done in vegetables. It's been done even in small grain crops, sorghums and millets and others. It's because of that specific advantage of the hybrid. That here is a conventional, here is a hybrid. Even if you buy the seed every season, the farmer is better off than buying the cheaper seed or even recycling the seed which he produced, which will not give him as much.
I think that is the message that I wanted, the answer I wanted to have. I don't know how much of that information is conveyed in a proper way to the farmers, because if they knew that they will gain much more by using the hybrid and buying it every season, I think they would adopt it, right?
Farmers would need to make a choice because they already have been given information through field days, for example, through demonstration, through field days.
Field days.
Exactly, field days, through fairs, through demonstrations on the value of having certified seed, of having a value of having hybrids, especially in this particular discussion, and what you're able to get in terms of harvest. But like we keep saying, it's about choice. So a farmer is either aware or not. For those who are aware, they still want to do informal seed. But like I've said, if you're doing it for home use is different from when you're doing it for commercial production.
We know that unless we convey properly that message to the smallholder farmer, we may not transform the agricultural sector in Africa, because they constitute a huge proportion of the farming population on African continent.
And I think that is where the issue is, that Africa, the majority of the farmers are smallholders. So they need to understand what is needed, and they need to know why they should do what will make them to produce more.
Exactly.
Even bring a hybrid, this season, the first season, you are going to lose more than 50% of the potential yield that you would have gotten if you planted a new seed of hybrid.
Okay.
If you do it in the other crops, maybe it will be less, but for hybrid, you lose more. And that is why it is advisable and economical to go and buy new seed of the same variety, of the next season. And that way, the farmer also has advantage both by benefiting from that hybrid, and also when you make a habit of bringing in new seed, you also have a higher probability of introducing new genetics, a new variety, which has new characteristics, which is better than the previous one.
Yes. The soil also gets to regenerate, like you're saying, when you bring new traits, the soil gets to regenerate, as opposed to when you also plant the same farmer saved seed. So it has a lot of twin benefits.
Yeah. Let's take a break, and when we come, we look at that piece of information that need to go down there and change the mindset of the smallholder farmers so that they can benefit from the use of hybrid. Welcome back to Kikao. What should be a seed system that is effective, that is working properly?
A seed system that is effective, now, the first of the things we need to look at is to have quality assurance. And quality assurance basically means, like we said initially, the process through which this particular seed is being developed should be such that it meets minimum threshold that has been set by different countries. So you find there is inspection, then there is the packaging, then there is the selling, and when you talk about selling, we also sell it through agro dealers who have been certified, who have a license, because studies have shown that sometimes seed which is meant to have the correct vigor is exposed maybe to sunlight, the way it has been transported. So yes, you can buy certified seed, but when you plant it, that becomes a challenge. So quality assurance is very important.
It's very important.
Yeah. It has to be a really concerted effort.
There is tell me, how do we create really the awareness that the farmer need to make that shift from the use of grain, actually it is grain, not even seeds, and start now using the seed, buying it from that system we have just talked about?
Okay. We always believe that seeing is believing.
Seeing is believing.
One of the things that we are working on, and of course other institutions are working on, is having farmer field day. If you have field days, the farmers will come and then they will see this is the variety which was planted. Of course, they'll see the crops at different stages, sometimes at harvest, sometimes at maturity. So they will see in this size of land, these are the quantities which were planted, these are the inputs which were there, this is the yield which we have. So we've seen through field days, farmers when they go back, they say, truly we can see the system.
There is benefit to use that.
So there is field day. Then there are discussions like now the ones we are having, which are going to be aired at different fora, so that also creates awareness. I've also seen the use of local language or local dialect to try and even have skits, to have demonstrations as way of explaining. In some cases, I've also seen this now going even to schools. Like, for example, then I've also seen we have in Kenya 2 newspapers that come on Saturdays, which normally has a pull-out. That is also another way of creating awareness. So awareness avenues are quite many. And for farmers who have been reached by these levels of awareness, they come back and testify, and even now become even champions and even role models in the communities where they are.
There are also some other who have done it, in especially having the village-based advisor system. So you have people that are trained in the community and they work with the farmers to provide that extension service. Others have used what they call the farmer hubs. So you have units of farmers who are even connected with today's digital system. They can collect information and pass on information. So different things. But I think the bottom line is that it has to be deliberate. Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to design it. Farmer associations have to get, I think, what you do, the training of the trainers. So you get individuals who are trained and they have specific connections and the networking among the community.
How does a farmer distinguish a counterfeit to a real certified, a genuinely certified seed? Do you have some tips to share with them?
Yes, I think this is where our association has been able to take a lead role. In fact, we have been a lead, especially in Africa in this, including now COMESA. What we have done is we worked with KEFIS, the regulatory authority, in partnership with the ministry and a solution provider called Pedigree, and we've come up with a system where every seed pack has a label. So when the farmer buys, the farmer scratches and then sends the digits to a number 1393, that is for Kenya, 1393. Then when you send it, it gives you feedback that this particular seed pack that you have has certified seed.
And I thank you, Duncan, for having come with all those layers. Stephen, for those different information you gave about the hybrid and also about the system, the seed system, and how it can be strengthened. I thank you very much. Farmers, I think it is time that we take the right decision. Move from the use of grains which are very low, which will give you very low potential, to the certified seeds, which even if you pay some money, will give you a higher yield, which will enable you to recoup that money and make benefit. I will welcome you to the next Kikao, but for now, thank you and bye-bye.
Here now, our science terminology for the week on Science Speak.
And for this week, our word is staking. Now, staking is usually common in tomato farming, for example. It's a practice of driving a support, commonly known as a stake, into the ground next to a plant to support it as it grows.
Now you know, not every seed is worth replanting. It's all about a farmer's farming goals. Well, thank you very much for watching Kikao for the week. Do not forget to join us next week at a time like now. My name is Joe Agayo.